Green tea. It must be the most talked about tea in the sense of when people think about healthy tea, they think about healthy green tea. And this is partially because of the industry. The companies of green tea makers that have been actually researching it a lot more than others, like many of the Japanese tea companies, they've actually invested money in researching. So gradually people sort of start to think green tea is actually healthier than black tea. There is definitely a lot of arguments and suggestions on, one side's right or one side's wrong. And here I'm not going to really talk about that. It's just that, sometimes you have to also look at your body type. I know friends who will not drink green tea because after they've drunk it, they kind of feel nauseous because their body type is just not suitable for green tea. Now, what I will talk about though is the two ways that the green teas are made, which will change the tea taste. And it creates, some different kind of flavors, if you will. So for example, the Chinese green tea is it's typically finished with roasting. So what that means is when they roast dry it, the tea tastes a little bit more roasty. The tea leaves tend to be a little bit brown, not necessarily brown, but just a darker color. The really well-known Chinese green tea would be the jasmine tea, which some people thought is just jasmine flowers, but the truth is no, it's actually jasmine infused into the green tea. Then we have Longjing or the dragon roll. That's also a really well-known olivey tasting Chinese green tea. However, if you go for the Japanese ones, they typically grazier. If you think about if you go to a sushi restaurant, Japanese restaurant, they generally will obviously serve you Japanese green tea, and they tend to be grazier in taste. Some people like it, some people don't. And Japanese green tea actually goes really well with salmon and a lot of seafood dishes. And there are these two different, type of production methods that cause them, to create this kind of different taste. Now, the other thing that some people say, I don't like green tea, it tastes bitter. And we found out actually how they make it, and they basically making it with super hot water. If your water just off the boil and you pour it onto your green tea, you are killing it. You are really killing them. Do not do that. You need cooler water. Okay? In fact, if you brew it with tepid water, you can add a bit more tea leaves in your pot. You'll have a flavorful cup without actually all that bitterness to it. So this is something that obviously needs a bit of adjusting because people kind of think the hot tea, you got to think that it got to be so hot that it's only just okay to drink in terms of temperature. But the fact is no. I mean, you can brew it with slightly more tepid type of water and have more tea leaves in it to actually give you a flavorful cup. That is if you obviously like a stronger flavorful cup. But if you like a light, again, don't overbrew it and don't use really, really hot water. Cool the water down a little bit, just give it a minute of rest or whatever, and then pour the water from your kettle to your teapot. So there you have it, a little bit about the green tea. And these last couple of videos talk about black tea and green tea. Those are obviously the really common types. Now we're venturing into the exotic ones. And the first one we're going to talk about is oolong.